Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tournament Center here at Pro Tour Avacyn Restored in Barcelona, Spain. My name is Marshall Sutcliffe, and I am joined by none other than Pro Tour champion Paul Rietzl. Hey Paul.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I am doing great because I'm excited.
Good.
I got to stand behind you and record your draft picks for a draft that we just did here. And we're going to go over them here today. And this is a real treat for me because you've got a bit of a reputation.
Okay, yes.
There was a picture put up on Twitter of you holding a swamp and plains and forest,
yeah.
And you looked at it like, what is this?
Yeah, I've known playing the white and the red cards, and I'm kind of on a one-track mind for this tournament. So
when you sit down at the draft table, are you looking for these colors as well?
In this particular format, yes. It's not been like that for every draft format I've ever played, but in most of the practice drafts I did, that's what I had success with, and just talking to people, it seems to be the color combination with a lot of synergy.
Yeah.
It's also something that I'm comfortable drafting with, so if there's a card that I'm less familiar with, I can more intuitively figure out the pick orders as I'm going through the draft and figure out what's important in order to build, a coherent deck. So I'm not forcing it, but
if it's there,
I'm going to go into it.
All right, so let's take a look at your first pick. Now you can see behind us on the screen, now you picked a Pillar of Flame out of this pack.
Right.
But I'm curious, was there anything that was, I see a Handwear Lancer over here.
Right.
And Handwear Lancer, it's a really solid creature.
Yeah,
what was your thought process here?
It's one of the best red commons. To me, it's not comparable to Pillar of Flame. Pillar of Flame is, to me, the best red common. It's more of a concern because I'm concerned that the people to my left might take the Handwear Lancer. So at this point, I think that Pillar of the Flame is very clearly the best card in the pack, with the second best card in the pack being either Joint Assault, Handwear Lancer, or Bone Splinters. I peeled those to the front of the pack, and I'm really hoping that Godenis Vidaguris to my left is taking either Bone Splinters or ideally Joint Assault, moving into green-blue, and just hoping that he doesn't take the Lancer as a signal.
Which I think he actually did.
I think he did, yeah.
All right, so let's go to the next pick here.
Yeah.
And you pick up really a pretty ideal two-drop in this format, I think. You pick up a Nearheath Pilgrim. Can you walk us through this pick? We see another Lancer here.
Sure. So at this point, just having passed green and black cards that I'm hoping are going to be signals to the people to my left, some reasonable cards like Ghoul Flesh and the Butcher Ghoul, Flowering Lumberknot, Howlgeist, Joint Assault, they're all okay, but I'm filtering them very quickly to the back of the pack and singling in on a red card if I can stay on track, which is the Handwear Lancer, or a white card to go into my ideal preferred red-white strategy, and that's the Pilgrim. In this case, I think Pilgrim is enough better, especially given mana curve considerations, that I'm willing to immediately branch into another color and take that over the Lancer. Again, with the same concern that maybe I'm sending a red signal now to Godenis, which again, he did pick up, but the Pilgrim can just get out of hand very, very quickly. It's a two-drop human, which the deck badly needs, and it's enough better, I think.
So the key here is that it's a 2-mana creature that you're taking over a 3-mana creature. That was really the tiebreaker.
Right, you're trying to set yourself up later in the draft where you can take cards that are more powerful. If I'm having to take, Thraben Valiants and Moorland Inquisitors over better cards later because my curve is bad, I'm going to regret making that pick right now. And the lifelink is actually surprisingly relevant in a race situation against, Flyers, for example.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's take a look at the next pick here. All right, so you pick up an Heirs of Strongkirk. So you're shifting, you're sort of solidifying yourself in red.
Right.
Was there anything else in this pack that even caught your eye?
Yeah, I mean, the next best card in the pack to me is probably the Grave Exchange.
Okay.
At this point, that's an entirely different direction for my deck. I'm a little bit concerned that when I looked at the pack initially, I was concerned that Heirs of Stromkirk was really the only playable card for my deck. But if you look at the pack, it's just pretty bad overall. There's a lot of really mediocre cards. The strongest color is black, but that tends to happen a lot in this format. So I'm okay just completely cutting the only playable card from my colors, which is a card that I'm more than happy to play. And again, hopefully sending another black signal to the left to put someone in black.
Yeah, this Heirs of Stromkirk has been a pretty reasonable 4-drop for me. It looks a little not amazing as a 2/2 for 4, but Intimidate seems to be pretty strong in the format, and the thing kind of acts as a little, here, deal with this.
Exactly, yeah. It's a fine card. It does actually get boarded out sometimes if they have red blockers, but against, for example, like a blue-green Soul Bond deck, if you can defend yourself or find a way to deal with their ping their X1 creatures, that guy can get out of hand very quickly.
Okay, let's take a look at the 4th pick for this first pack.
Right.
Now, this pack, similar to the last one, doesn't have anything really amazing for you.
Yeah.
You ended up with a Farbog Explorer. Are you happy about it?
No, this is about when I started freaking out. This is about when I thought that I was going to get screwed by someone to my right. You know, again, my first instinct is to peel all the red and the white cards to the front of the pack. In this case, there's really 3 cards that I would consider: the Explorer, the Bracers in the top left, and the Somberwald Vigilante. The Bracers and the Vigilante are both marginal. The Vigilante probably better than the Bracers, but again, as a 4th pick, you're very disappointed. Yeah. The Explorer is a little bit better. It's a reasonable sized body, and it has, you know, invasion against the black deck, but it's a weak 4th pick. The only thing that encouraged me or allowed me to kind of stay sane is the fact that, again, it's a generally pretty weak pack. You know, there's a Eaten by Spiders and the Shield Mate, but those aren't, you know, amazing 4th picks either. So I'm thinking that it's just a weak pack. I'm not convinced anyone's in white to my right, and, you know, Explorer fills a spot in the curve. So
good. Okay, so let's take a look at the second pack here. Now, you get a little bit better of a pack here compared to the 4th pick from the first one. You got a lot of really great options here.
I mean, if I could just take this pack and move on to pack 3, I would have been happy. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you break down which of the, I mean, we see a Lightning Mauler, a Mad Prophet, a Cruin Striker, there's a Defined Deflection up there, Zealous Strike is a trick, Moorland Inquisitor. How do you parse all this out? There's so many options for you.
Right, so, you know, to me, you know, the clearly the best card in the pack is the Divine Deflection. I consider that to be a bomb and one of the best, you know, non-mythics in the set. So when I see that and I'm in white, the rest of the cards are really not going to be a consideration. So I save that mental energy of deciding what to pick, and I'm immediately considering what could potentially table. Okay. So I'm counting all of the other playable cards: the Striker, the Prowess, the Mauler, the Mad Prophet, and the Moorland Inquisitor, and to a lesser extent, the Gate Guards and the Zealous Strike in the bottom right are cards that I'd want to table back. And other cards that people might consider taking are the Into the Void, obviously, which is a strong blue card, Mental Agony, and Ghostly Flicker. So, you know, if I'm thinking, unless there's a lot of other people in red-white, that's 9 other cards for 7 people. There's a reasonable chance that I'll table something, probably either the Zealous Strike or the Mad Prophet. And so I'm mentally kind of putting that in my head that I'm going to get one of those back, and, you know, pretty happy about getting a bomb and potentially tabling a card for my deck.
Yeah, for the 10th pick. All right, let's take a look at the next slide here. Okay, so this pack is significantly less awesome compared to that first one. One of the cards that caught my eye was a Devout Chaplain. As you know, you probably are going to end up with a reasonable amount of humans here, but the Fervent Cathar is a more aggressive card. How do you sort of decide between?
Well, my first instinct reading this pack was that my ship had just hit an iceberg. When I saw Homicidal Seclusion and Druid's Familiar, and the rare still in the pack, meaning Go-Dennis not taking a rare, I thought all of my signals have been missed. Go-Dennis is certainly in red-white, because if he were black, he would have taken the Homicidal Seclusion. If he were green, he would have taken the Druid's Familiar almost certainly. So I'm just praying that he's blue-white or blue-red at this point, because it's really unlikely he would have passed me those cards, taking, I believe, an uncommon, or a common, actually. So I'm thinking I just hit an iceberg, but at this point it's too late to turn back, so I kind of have to just put that in the back of my mind and hope to get hooked up in pack 3. So I'm looking at the Chaplain and the Fervent Cathar. They're both humans. I think the Cathar is marginally better at this point because I'm drafting sort of an aggressive deck. I have a lot of 2-drops. It works really well with the Soulbound white and red creatures. It's a close pick. I don't have enough experience in the format to feel that confident in it. I could definitely see going either way. But I think on balance, the Cathar is just marginally better.
I think so too. The Chaplain has a nice upside, but it does make you work for it.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the next pick here. Okay, so now you're going to pick up your second Near Heath Pilgrim in the draft here. Is there anything in this pack that contributes? I mean, we've got another 2-drop with the Moorland Inquisitor. There's also a Righteous Blow, which is kind of like removal. How do you pair these ones up?
Well, again, so now I'm thinking to myself, now my mind's kind of in a mush right now, because I'm thinking, okay, maybe Go-Dennis isn't white-red. I'm getting all of these white and red cards that are playable. But there's an Amass the Components. He might have taken that if he were blue. So I'm thinking maybe at this point he is something like black-red. I don't know. Again, I can't worry what he's doing. I have to look at the cards. Near Heath Pilgrim to me is strictly better than Moorland Inquisitor, so it's a decision between the Pilgrim and the Righteous Blow. Again, I think the Pilgrim is like almost a bomb. It's like really powerful and helps swing races. Righteous Blow is like good against some kind of decks, but is usually a pretty transparent trick and sometimes low impact or even useless. So to me, let's keep filling the early part of the curve, open up more decisions later.
I agree. I don't think it's even that close. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the next pick here. Speaking of the Moorland Inquisitor. Does he have any competition in this pack?
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot. You're not at the point of the draft where you're going to be cutting things, right?
Right. I mean, this is at this point, you know, I can rule out Godinez being black because there's no way a Bone Splinters and a Searchlight Geist are going to get to me that late. Yeah, this is probably the easiest pick of the draft for me. Just taking a really solid 2-drop, a human, fill a spot in the curve.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the last pack. Now, this is one that I'm kind of excited about. You know, you mentioned on our last pack that you said, "I hope I get hooked up in pack 3."
Right. Yeah. I mean, going into pack 3, I had a solid deck, a good curve. I was feeling good about myself, but it lacked a little bit of pop. I didn't have many like broken rares. There's just some good commons, a good curve, a good aggressive deck. And I was really looking for like some reach, some late game, ideally open a good rare. In this case, I opened, and actually I think a fairly difficult decision between Lightning Prowess and Moonsilver Spear. I took the Spear for the reason I said before. I had a couple removal spells, a great curve, but I lacked pop, and Spear is the kind of card that unanswered can just end the game very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure about the pick, but I think given that I didn't know what was about to come to me, it was right at the time.
Yeah, so this is just a power level pick then, because we can see that the Spear is 4 to cast and 4 to equip. It demands a lot from you, but it rewards you for what you pay.
Right.
Okay, so let's take a look at the next pack here. Well, let's hope we get hooked up in pack 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I see the Hound of Grizzlebrand, which is a card I don't have a lot of experience with, but that's a lot of different abilities on not much mana. So
there's no flavor text there.
Right, no flavor text. I don't believe either of those are restrictions or downside. They both look like upside, so that's
correct.
I'm on board. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one, there's really nothing in the pack that even competes with this. Double Strike is such a potent ability.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that catches your eye?
Well, I'm mentally looking at the Aggravate and the Barter in Blood because they're cards I expect to have to face and are pretty important cards to play around. I'm thinking maybe I can table the Somberwall Vigilante, which I think is slightly underrated, but that's basically it. I mean, this is not a particularly close pick for me. It's more of trying to read the draft.
Okay, so but you do have your eye on that Barter in Blood just because if you're playing against somebody playing black, you know there was one in your table.
Yeah, and Aggravate's actually a nightmare for me, and especially considering the fact that I passed Godinez, or I expect Godinez to potentially be in red. I'm going to watch out for Aggravate if I play Godinez.
Yeah, because that's the only red card here. He could take the Vigilante as well. Okay, let's take a look at the next pick. Wow. Good to be Paul Rietzl.
Almost fell out of my chair.
Yeah, I did too. I was standing behind you. I would have held you up.
Yeah. I looked at the Gold Knight Redeemer and I'm like, that is a good spot to get Gold Knight Redeemer. And then I filtered to the end of the pack and I had to do a double take. And I guess people don't like splashing in Barcelona, but Restoration Angel is again another one of the best non-mythics in the set. It fits perfectly into my deck. I mean, I think I joked yesterday that Talrim Minotaurs never look so good on a Hell Rider. Well, Phantom Monster has never looked so good. That's the best Phantom Monster I've ever seen. They put a lot of different things on it, and they're all really good.
Yeah, I mean, especially in Limited, a 3/4 flying with Flash is going to usually be a 2-for-1.
3/4 flying with Flash would be a bomb. Yeah, that would be a bomb.
And you've got you can use your creative side to come up with ways to abuse it as well.
Just countered a Vanishment in my first match, actually.
You did?
Completely, yeah.
So, we've got a lot of other playables for your deck here. We've got a Hanweir Lancer, a Thatcher Revolt, I see a Frarbog Restorer, Cloud Shift, and the Redeemer that you mentioned. There's also a Midvast Protector. Are you hoping to wheel one of these, or is it not really realistic?
The issue with this pack is that there's really only like 1.5 cards that could fit realistically into someone else's deck, and that's the Triumph of Ferocity and the Soul Cage Fiend.
Okay.
So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 playables. I'm probably looking at getting like Cloud Shift and maybe the Protector back if someone takes the Soul Cage Fiend, but it could easily be Soul Cage Fiend and Cloud Shift, so maybe I'm getting a Cloud Shift back. Based upon that, I made an error later in the draft, which we might get to, but I should have expected to get that Cloud Shift back since I think it's the weakest white or red card.
Okay, and then you maybe could have made a pick that would take advantage of potentially getting it. Okay,
yeah.
Let's take a look at the last pick for pack 3 here.
Yeah.
So we see your parade of rares falls off here.
Yeah. Well, so this is the thing, right? So I take Stone Right. I think it's a card that I actually rate very highly in red-white. It's an aggressive card. It can turn 2 creatures into major threats. I think in my last match against Robert, it traded off for a 3/5. A 3/5 reach.
That's a lot of work for a 1-drop.
It's a lot of work for a 1-drop. Again, now I see that Cloud Shift right there. This pack actually does have a lot of cards that other people will take. There's a Ghoul Flesh, there's a Geist Trapper, there's a Joint Assault, there's 2 good blue cards, Sever the Sky, or Snare the Skies and Thunderbolt. There's a reasonable chance that that Cloud Shift will table as well, and I should have picked that up.
Okay. Yeah, so you are currently sitting at 2-0 with this deck.
Yep.
And I think that we're definitely looking for you to 3-0. You're in your comfort zone.
Yes.
You're sitting here with a deck that you're going to know how to play inherently.
Yes.
And you seem to get the curve, the power level, the removal.
Yes.
You even got a bomb equipment just to throw in there.
Yeah, I love my deck.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we should wrap up the segment here. So yeah, from the Tournament Center, I am Marshall Sutcliffe for Paul Rietzl. This has been a Draft Tech, and yeah, thank you.